Okay, I think we can start. Can everyone still hear me okay?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, cool. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our first Women IT Pros EMEA call. My name is Tanya Lima, and I'm currently a program manager in Intune Engineering here at Microsoft. Feel free to introduce yourself using the chat window. Tell us who you are, what job you do, where you are from. And just before we start, let me share some context and what Women IT Pros is all about. This is a group that supports women in IT jobs that don't involve coding. You can be in, say, project management, program management, consultancy, support, management, operations, just to name a few. And no, the group is not exclusive for women or for IT pros. Everyone is welcome. If you embrace diversity and want to support women in tech, you are more than welcome here. We have a series of calls lined up for the coming months, and we will kick off today with a topic that I believe most of us can relate to, working in a global role with a remote team. Florina Popa will be our speaker today, and will share her perspective, experiences, and how Florina manages to be successful working globally and remotely. At the end, we'll have some time for comments and questions. In the meantime, feel free to type on the chat window. I'll be monitoring that. Florina, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Tanya, and hi, everyone. So just as a sort of an icebreaker, can we get in the chat window maybe how many of you currently work in a global team and for how long? Or if you can even unmute and speak if you want to, whatever is easier. But I'm just wondering how many of you are in this particular context. Wow, 21 years, Janet. Wow.
I am.
I'm also part of a global team and they've been for the past 8.5 years. Yeah.
Thanks, Madalena. Wow. Thank you so much, everyone, for your answers. That's super insightful. And I think we probably will leave the time that we have at the end dedicated for questions. Maybe we can also dedicate it for any other tips and tricks that some of you might want to share on how to do this in an even better way. So just to give it a bit of a context, I'm part of the deployment services team. It's within CSS organization in Microsoft, the customer service and support. For those that are not familiar with it, I'm working as a project manager, even though the standard title says business program manager, but my actual role is of a project manager. And I've been in this role for a little over 2 years now. So specifically, I manage cross-SBU operational changes that range from helping with planning for global events where CSS is present, such as CSS Experience at Microsoft Ready, to the planning and rollout of development programs for specific target groups within CSS, like our engineers or managers, and even to migrating support volumes within our partner ecosystem. So it's a pretty diverse range of projects that implies working with diverse groups from all over the world. Previously, I used to work as an analog support engineer in a team where I guess 90% of my peers were no more than 10 meters away from me. So we could all see each other face to face daily and work together on problems in a very organic way. But then 2 years ago, I moved into this new team, and now I have 70 plus peers scattered on 3 continents, 9 countries, and 11 time zones, which is definitely a change, and it's going to give you a whole new perspective on things. So the reason I'm here today, I guess, is to talk to you about how I managed to make this shift into working remotely with a global team, and how also being a woman in a country from Eastern Europe has impacted all of this, because it's also part of the context. So I will structure agenda for the next minutes that I have on three, I think, main areas that I feel like are most relevant for this particular topic. One of them, I would start with the challenges. And I think probably one of the biggest challenges in this particular context are the time zones, obviously. And I think, Tanya, if you want to move to the slide that I provided, because that will actually speak a lot to where my team is located around the world and the various time zones that we're all in. So I definitely want to call out this time zone challenge and finding the right time to meet, especially on a regular basis. That's one of the hardest things that I'm facing as part of this team and the project that I'm on. It's not just about meeting with my peers, but it's also with my project team members, with my stakeholders. I'm currently running 4 major projects that are very different in scope, and the teams are also very different and extremely scattered around the world again. Given 70% of my work time, I would estimate, is spent in meetings. It becomes definitely a challenge, not just for me, but for everyone in those meetings and projects. So what I found here is that being flexible to a certain degree, but also setting the right expectations from the beginning has proven extremely helpful in managing situations where meetings would either fall at 6 a.m. my time or midnight. Also, another learning was trying to shift meetings on a weekly basis to accommodate the different time zones. So, for example, if we would have our regular project meeting at 4 p.m., we would want to consider if we are having also team members from Asia and US to consider changing that time weekly so that it's not always comfortable for some and not comfortable for others, but we try to be try to accommodate everyone, I guess, as long as they want to. And I think that's an interesting call out, because sometimes I was also in the situation where people were just adapted to that schedule and just preferred to go with it that way. So I think assuming is not a good thing. Always ask and make sure that everyone is aligned with that mindset as you are trying to be inclusive with others. And then I think one of the other challenges that I originally faced, and I see this less and less, to be honest, is the lack of cultural awareness. It kind of forces everyone to get out of their comfort zone, because we instinctively come with a package of from our own background and culture that drives the conversation into a certain direction, or we assume things in a certain way based on our own schedule, our own life, our own culture, our own views. And obviously not everyone is aligned to that. So especially when people are coming from very different cultures, I think that was one of the original challenges that I've seen. But again, I feel like at least with this group, we've learned more and more to overpass this, and it has become less of a problem, but it can definitely be a challenge. And finally, I think one of the other challenges that I would call out is the reduced face-to-face time. My team and I meet face-to-face only once a year. We have this global event where we all get together, and we actually had the one for this year just a couple of weeks ago in Romania. So it's so good to have everyone in the same place and to actually see each other face to face, to be able to connect and have conversations on projects in a totally different way than you would if you were in just an online call. And but that again only happens once a year. So you'll have to find creative ways for overcoming these challenges for the rest of the year. Sometimes we may meet with our project team members more often, but again, face-to-face is a rare thing to have, in at least in our type of work. And sometimes I've seen people suggesting to bring up their cameras. But again, thinking that for some people the call might be at 6 a.m. or for others it might be at midnight or 11 p.m. or either way, just not the usual working hours. You may not want to force people into opening up their cameras just to be able to have a to see that person. It's obviously a good practice, but um, I don't think that that works all the time. So just setting that expectation from the beginning. Now moving into more of the positive side, I would say, in terms of opportunities that I've seen as working in a global team, definitely tuning up to what I said earlier around the lack of cultural awareness. I think this also becomes an opportunity at some point, and that is exploring and understanding these different cultures. Some people might be more eager to jump with questions or comments in a call, while others might be just reluctant to do so unless they are specifically asked if they have a certain opinion about it. And that's sometimes as part of their culture that they grow into. And I think this becomes this opportunity of understanding how other people work and how you could make your meetings better, how you could make your projects better, just to be able to get a diverse perspective. And then I would probably call out the diversity and inclusion piece. And I think, I mean, there are tons of conversation at this point about the topic of diversity and inclusion. And to be honest, I'm super proud to be part of a company that has such an intense focus on addressing and acting upon it. But I feel like we're missing, at least out of the conversations that I've seen, a bit of a historic component or context that has definitely an impact on how these conversations evolve in various countries. And I think this ties to the context that I set earlier around being a woman from a Eastern European country, and all the history that comes with it. I think has allowed us to evolve that kind of conversation in a certain way. And what I mean by that is we have a lot of women in the IT area. We have a good representation or balance between the women and men workforce on the market compared to other countries. And this was actually, I saw an article recently. We had Adrian Day, head of Microsoft HR, visiting Romania a couple of weeks ago. And she was mentioning how impressed she was with the number of women in IT market, or having the skills at least to apply for a job in this area compared to other countries. I think it was something around 21% compared to 5 or 6% in other countries. So I feel proud to be in this kind of context, but in the same time, I feel that the diversity and inclusion conversations and focus area has also pushed every one of us to think of not just on a one perspective, but also how else we can be more inclusive of our peers, how else we can make sure that we take into account more of what's behind what we can see or what we cannot see, especially in a remote call, obviously. I think working in this global team definitely requires a lot of understanding of both diversity and inclusion, but also practicing it every time you get the chance. and learning from each interaction that you get on how to improve. Again, being from Eastern Europe, I faced a lot of misconceptions about my country or my culture, but I try to take every opportunity just to talk about them with an open mind. Again, not making too many assumptions about why people think in a certain way. But yeah, I think those would be the opportunities that I would call out as being part of this global team. And then the final pillar that I wanted to focus on was managing work-life balance. And I think, moreover, as a woman, I believe work-life balance is often an interesting topic, to say the least. My role, as I define it for myself, is not obviously just a Microsoft standard title that you see in Teams, but also I feel defined by my status as a daughter, a wife, a mom of a 4-year-old boy, and expecting another one soon. So I decided a while back that I don't want to draw a strict line between my personal life and my work life. I think being in a global team has definitely contributed to this decision to a certain degree, but there are other reasons to it as well. So I think one of the reasons there is that I'm very passionate about my work, and I want my family to see this and respect this just as I respect my time with them. And in the same time, I also feel like I have become a better mom and just doing better in managing my relationship with those around me through all the learnings that I got from my job. For example, change management. Trainings and practices has helped me a lot and has opened my eyes a lot towards how I can be just better in my personal life. And being a mom also helped me uh, better manage my projects through, I don't know, I gained a lot more patience, gain perspective through diverse input. So I think there's always this balance back and forth between how you manage not just your time when you have meetings, but also your learnings from each of these fields. That's why I kind of decided on not drawing the strict line of I leave work at work and I leave being a mom just at home, or um, I don't feel I can do that. I don't want to do that. It was a personal choice, and I felt like there was only benefits out of it as a result of that decision. So I think what I'm hoping that you get out of this is it may feel lonely when you're part of a global team working remotely, especially if you're deciding to work from home. It does get lonely sometimes. But I think we all should remember that we're not. There are a lot of people in this situation, and just looking at the chat window, I feel so humbled by how many folks have been doing this for so long. And we're all kind of experiencing, I guess, similar challenges. So feel free to open up and address them. But then more than anything, I think it can be a great learning experience about yourself, but also about others, obviously. So my takeaway, I would say probably is, or my learnings, at least for myself, after this time of working in this context have been to be curious, a lot more curious than I used to be. Ask questions, don't assume, and also set expectations around your own expectations of others, but also making sure that you give others the chance to level set on those expectations that you have of them. So I think, I mean, I covered pretty much what I had in mind, but I guess I did that a bit sooner than we had the time to. But I would be willing to open up the conversation or the questions if there are any.
Definitely, definitely. Thanks, Florina, for sharing. And I was listening to you and I was thinking, yeah, that's me. Yeah, that's super familiar. That happened. And I think we all have been through some of these challenges and the learnings, right? Um, and Joanna, you said something on the chat window regarding feeling like that sometimes. Do you want to elaborate on that? Do you want to come off mute and
Yeah,
share with
sure.
us a bit what you mean?
Yeah, yeah. I think that I feel sometimes that I'm like lonely too because since the team is a remote team and we work in different time zones, sometimes yeah, we don't have the interaction that I used to have when I was just a support engineer. And sometimes that I think influences the motivation, yeah, and the energy behind.
Yeah, definitely. I know I have been there. Any other comments, thoughts, questions?
Hey, Tanya.
Hey.
I think for me, one of the things I found when I started working completely with a remote team and a remote manager was I kind of missed those chats that you have, when your teammates are beside you or you have colleagues beside you. And I think where I've gotten to now is not being afraid to pick up those phones and proactively have those just side chats or, just about how your day's going or whatever with some of my team to try and bring some of that kind of, I guess, social part of your work
Yeah.
environment back into
Yeah.
your life. And I think initially I was kind of afraid to do that because I also was like picking up the phone was for a work reason and I didn't want to disturb that. But I think as time has gone on, I've made those relationships with a few people in our team, and it's kind of made me more productive and more happy as well. So I think that was a lesson I kind of had over the last couple of months that maybe some people, if they're feeling lonely, can take away.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I love those informal chats over coffee, right? Those things that happen naturally when you are working from the office. You just bump into people and you say, hey, want to grab coffee? And you spend 10, 15 minutes just talking about stuff, what you're doing, what projects you are working with. And yeah, when you're working from home and working remotely, that doesn't happen, right? So you have to provoke that. And I'm with you, Carol, 100%. Initially I would feel weird doing that because I would think, oh, people are busy, they are busy. I will only call them if I have a business related question or topic to discuss. But now, yeah, I do what you do. I just call, say, hey, how's it going, how are things, and just chat, because that I think that helps, right? Building those relationships, and having those conversations has a positive impact on the professional or work relationship. So yeah, definitely. And I would recommend everyone doing that. Well, not every day maybe, but every once in a while, just pick up the
Yeah.
phone and call your colleagues, call your manager, say, hey, how are you, how's it going, what have you been up to? Yeah,
And
definitely. I'm
it's
a
not
big
just the
fan of that.
social, yeah, it's not just the social component of it. I mean, it definitely helps out from that perspective, but I've also noticed that whenever we get together, more of us from the same group or from the same project together and just have that opportunity to chat informally, even though we don't have a meeting set up for that, it also makes us more productive for that particular project. So there's obviously a challenge there on how you can make that happen when you only get to call a person. But yeah, I would be a plus one there on making that phone call, or even, I mean, with teams, since we are all having different groups in teams for our different projects or different teams that we're part of, I think that we should also leverage that a bit more as to how we give the opportunity and make space for people to share out some of their personal challenges or some of their thoughts that are not necessarily always business related, but just to give that opportunity to create a social space of sharing between peers.
Yep, definitely. And I was just thinking, there is something else we do in our team that I think is great. Personally, I like it, which is we have a WhatsApp group where we just share stuff, personal stuff, or industry news, or trends, or anything and everything except work stuff. Although sometimes people, but the idea behind it is just, hey, I go on vacation and I can share a couple of pictures with my colleagues, say, hey, I'm here, which I mean, they are working, right? But you know what I mean, is really having a space where people can just go and share stuff,
Yep.
not that is not work related. It
Yeah,
works for us. I like it.
yeah, I think the beauty of it, Tanya, is that like people can opt out if they want to. So it's not like you're sending it to a
Oh,
forced
definitely.
work account. So people get, I mean, we often mute them sometimes because they get really noisy sometimes, but people
They
can dip
do.
in and out. You're not forced to read it. But it is good because like that, you start to learn some things about your colleagues, about their interests, or maybe like Lothar in our team, he's like a big bike rider, so we hear some of his
Yeah.
trips or whatever, and it helps to kind of deepen your relationships a little bit without it being people feeling like they're sharing their social life through a work context, because you have that little bit of a removal from the corporate account as such.
Yep. Definitely. And it helps. It just helps you connect with people at a more personal level.
Yeah, we have a dedicated channel in Teams in our team site just for that.
Yeah. I said WhatsApp is just a platform we use, but
Yeah,
I guess platform doesn't really matter, right? It's just having a
obviously.
space
Yeah.
where, people can share non-work related stuff.
We share. I have a similar challenge to that as well, where, I'm a guest to the UK area, for example, but I have colleagues all over the world. Now I report up into the EMEA time zone, and so there's 5 other people who are in a WhatsApp group with me, with my manager, and people like that. And so I do completely understand your point on the WhatsApp group. It's really good fun for us to connect that way. And the other thing that we did was we fell into this. It wasn't an intentional decision, but we have a rubber duck as our team mascot, and it's kind of growing. So we have also a annual event where we get together to see each other face to face. And we've already done ours this year. And as part of the icebreaker session, my peer who was leading it kind of went with the duck theme. And so rather than kind of introducing ourselves, because we had Accenture partners and other people in the room as well. So rather than introducing ourselves, hi, I'm whoever, I've been here for however many years, it was all about, do you know your colleagues? And like, here are some duck personalities, and let's vote to see, submit your thoughts on who you think this duck personality was. So we had like Chef Duck and DJ Duck and, the Queen Duck and things like that. And people got into that. And, so we're now like the duck squad. And so we share that in our WhatsApp group, funny pictures of maybe colleagues traveling through security with ducks coming through the security, vent things and things like that. And it really does kind of bring us together and forms that bond. So I completely understand what you're talking about as well.
Yeah, definitely. And that sounds like a lot of fun. For our team, it's cats. Because our team is the customer acceleration team, right? So cat. So everything is about cats and funny cat pictures and things like that. But yeah, that's super funny. Any other experiences, ideas, thoughts? Okay, then I guess everyone gets a few minutes back. Just thanks everyone so much for joining us today, and thanks Florina for sharing. It was super valuable. And just before we go, a couple of things. Let me just change this slide. So just a couple of things. There is a channel in the tech communities called Humans of IT, where everyone can start threads, discussions about any relevant topics. I would recommend you follow the channel because I'll be posting there every month with information regarding the next calls, and I'll also be posting the recordings there. So make sure you follow the channel. The URL is on the invite for this call, but if for any reason you cannot find it, just reach out to me. And lastly, if there is a topic or experience you would like to present back to the group, or even if it's just a topic you would like to see covered, please let me know. I'm always keen to know what topics people want to hear about. Yeah, just reach out. Again, thanks everyone, and I hope to see you all next month. The call will be about the Grace Hopper conference that took place earlier this month in Orlando, Florida. Thanks everyone. Have a good day. Take care.
Thank you, Tanya.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.